Good evening and welcome. You're with News First, your number one news provider. I'm Shamir Rasoolde.
And I'm Nicola D'Souza. We start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
No difference between North and South when solving the people's problems. A statement from the President in Jaffna.
විශේෂයෙන්ම පරිපාලන සේවයට අවශ්‍ය සැලසුම් අපි තමුන්නාන්සේලාගේ යෝජනා අනුව ඉටු කරනවා.
SLFP Central Committee decides its public representatives must not attend political meetings organized by other parties without approval. JHU expresses its displeasure over the actions of institutions investigating fraud and corruption. Customs seizes another 16,000 litres of ethanol. National Medicine Regulatory Authority Bill presented in Parliament. We want the region to be free from big power conflicts. A News First exclusive with the General Secretary of the BJP.
And on our top story, speaking in Jaffna today, President Maithripala Sirisena said there is no difference of North and South when it comes to resolving problems faced by the people. The President reiterated the commitment of the current government to solving the people's problems.
President Maithripala Sirisena visited Jaffna today, his first visit to the area since his election. The President was welcomed by Chief Minister C.V. Vigneswaran. The President then chaired a meeting at the Jaffna District Secretariat where attention was focused on problems faced by people in the northern province.
Our political problems cannot be solved by our head. They need to be solved by our hearts. It's a change of heart that could bring us a change of attitude. When we allow our heads to rule us from political standpoints or selfish standpoints, enlightened or otherwise, we cannot bring about metta, karuna, mudita or upeka into our life. Being born in an area where from ancient times the higher states of mind and attitudes among the Buddhist clergy and Buddhist public have been prevalent, you are ideally suited to usher in a new way of life, a new humane understanding among the denizens of this country. We welcome you wholeheartedly into our midst. It must be remembered that we are different in the north and east. We are a war-affected region. Our problems are different, serious and needs adequate handling.
We must all render our support to ensure the successful completion of the 100-day program. I make an open request for everyone to work together with this government openly and with a singular vision to secure the political rights of all the people. Because of certain shortcomings in the political leadership, we were deprived of several opportunities in the past. Thereby, we need to all work together to ensure that anger does not fester. The people elected me as the President of the nation so they could submit their problems to me. I'm willing to listen to these problems and it gives me great happiness to resolve them. In order to resolve these problems, it is necessary for us to work together in a spirit of fraternity. Priority has been given to resolving the land issue within a short span of time. You made a request that you wanted a governor from the administrative service. From the time I was a minister, I constantly told the then President that this must be done swiftly. I asked that this be done for the Eastern Province too. I made request even back then for the secretaries to be changed accordingly. But it did not happen at the times. But I am happy about it. It is because it was not done that I was elected President. Thereby, we will implement plans necessary for the administrative service taking into consideration your proposals.
After participating at the Northern Province Coordinating Committee meeting, the President engaged in religious observances at the Nallur Kovil. The President also inspected the under-construction President's House in Kankasanture, Jaffna.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party's Central Committee has decided that public representatives from the party must not attend political meetings organized by other parties without obtaining prior approval from the SLFP. Issuing a communique, SLFP General Secretary Anu Priyadarshan Ayappa said the Central Committee has also decided that public representatives must refrain from acting as per their own prerogatives and presenting their personal views through the media.
Anura Priyadarshini issued this communique today, highlighting the decisions that had been taken by the SLFP Central Committee, which convened under President Maithripala Sirisena. The statement reads that party organisation has commenced under the new board of officials. Anura Priyadarshini notes that the goal of this organisation would be to secure a majority in Parliament at the upcoming general election with the SLFP and allied political parties. The SLFP General Secretary says it is evident that various regressive forces are acting to weaken this programme. He concludes that it is the duty of party supporters to understand this situation, and instead of paving the way for these regressive forces to come into power, they must work together with all forces in one alliance.
The National Medicine Regulatory Authority Bill was tabled in Parliament today.
The establishment of the National Medicine Regulatory Authority is the focal point of the bill. The authority will have a duty to regulate the manufacture, distribution, registration and licensing of medicinal drugs and devices.
The aim of passing the bill is to introduce a national drug policy to regulate medicinal drugs in the country. It also aims to rescind the Cosmetics, Devices and Drugs Act No. 27 of 1980.
The bill will be taken up for debate tomorrow.
None
of us had seen this bill for over a month. This is the first time we are looking at it. We request that another day be provided to debate it rather than passing it tomorrow. In the 100-day program introduced by President Maithripala Sirisena, it was noted that this will be presented to Parliament on the 6th of February and will be passed on the 18th of February. According to this, there is more time to pass it.
The party leaders have agreed to take this up for debate tomorrow as an urgent bill.
This was made public in June 2014. After everything was done, a committee was also formed. The proposals were made and it was made a bill. This was presented to Cabinet and the Cabinet rejected it. This was made public and a gazette was also issued. A number of amendments have been included. We commend it. The bill with the agreed agreements is given to us now.
Seneca Bibli presented this report when we were still in Law College. This has been discussed for over 40 years.
This is why a timetable was introduced in the 100-day program so that this can be dealt with. People like you always spoke like that. I have listened to it before. The right wing and the left spoke in different ways to move over this.
And in a developing story, Airport and Aviation Services Sri Lanka has revealed that due payments have not been made for the parking of a cargo plane at the Katunayake International Airport for an extended period. The Vice Chairman of ASL says it has not been confirmed as yet as to whether any connection exists between this aircraft and MP Sajjan Divasgunawardena.
The official website of the aviation company purportedly owned by MP Sajjan Divasgunawardena stated that it uses this Boeing 727 for the transportation of cargo between India and Sri Lanka. The plane in question has been parked for close to a year at the BIA. Minister of Ports, Shipping and Civil Aviation Arjuna Ranatunga was questioned on this matter at a media briefing held this morning at the Ratmalane Airport.
ගුවන් යානේ මිලදී ගන්න තියෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා නම් මගෙන් අහන්න බෑ මම නම් ඒක දන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි ඒකේ අයිතිකාරයා කවුද කියන එක
ඒක මේ එරෝ ලංකා කියලා ගුවන් සමාගමට අයිති ගුවන් යානයක් ඒක කටුනායක ගුවන් තොටුපළේ
The plane belongs to the airline company known as Aero Lanka. It has been parked at the Katunayake airport for about a year. As far as we know, it is not a plane that is owned by a politician. It is a Boeing 727 cargo plane. It is very old. It is at the CBC terminal in Katunayake. Payments have been made for close to a year. It belongs to the Aero Lanka company. That is how it is registered. We are conducting investigations. I cannot say anything about it yet.
If payments are not made, then it comes under the ownership of the government. There's a large payment to be made. I do not know whether there is any value for them to pay the money and take the plane. Although the plane belongs to the Aero Lanka company, as stated at this media briefing, the search on the internet points to a connection between this company and the aviation company allegedly owned by Sajjan Divasgunawardena. In addition, the website of the aviation company allegedly owned by the MP states that it uses the Boeing 727 for cargo transport operations in the SARC region jointly with Sri Lankan Airlines. In 2006, two senior employees of the Aero Lanka company, which was established as a BOI project, disappeared. This newspaper report, recovered by Newsfirst, states that Loganthi Raja Komadi, The finance director of Aero Lanka was abducted at about 10 p.m. on the night of the 22nd of August 2006. Lal Premaratna, who was also employed at Aero Lanka, and his wife disappeared on the same day. The newspaper report further reveals that an individual known as S.S. Nathan is the chairman of Aero Lanka, a subsidiary of a Florida-based aviation company. According to what we know, Sajin Was is not on the board of directors of Cosmos, but this company had not made payments for our hangars for a period of around 2 years. As soon as our government came in, they quickly made a payment. We decided to put this money in the bank because it is money owed to us. The total was 24 million. Cosmos had not made the payments, but as soon as this government came in, they quickly made a payment.
Cosmos Aviation Samagama
We have already lodged complaints with the Criminal Investigations Department regarding Cosmos Aviation and alleged fraudulent activity of Sajin Vaskunawardhana. Investigations are ongoing. In the meantime, the subject minister has said today that Sajin Vaskunawardhana is not on the board of directors of Cosmos Aviation. This is the joke that is being told to the country. The people of this country did not vote on the 8th of January for this cabinet to tell these stories. A mandate was given on the 8th of January to halt the corruption, wastage, fraud and theft, and to take action against and punish those who are responsible for this corruption and fraud. The thieves are thieving blatantly and are saying so too. They say, we are thieving, come catch us. If you fail to do so, it is not our problem. He may not be on the board of directors of Cosmos Aviation, but asked the question on how he managed to amass so much wealth within a few years after coming to the country and becoming an MP. How did he come to own aeroplanes and companies based in Singapore? Thereby, the responsibility of this government is to obtain the services of the many talented auditors we have in this country, cooperate with the CID to conduct proper investigations and arrest the rogues. The people now have a suspicion as to whether this government has launched a campaign to whitewash thieves instead of catching them.
හොරු සුද්ධ කිරීමේ ව්‍යාපාරයක් මේ ආණ්ඩුව පටන් අරගෙන තියෙන සැකේ දැන් ජනතාවට තහවුරු වෙමින් තියෙනවා.
The Sri Lanka Audit Examiners Association says that a suitable official must be appointed to the position of Auditor General immediately in order to ensure financial good governance. They point out that 4 months have lapsed since the position became vacant.
While the position of Auditor General has been vacant since the 1st of October last year, a Deputy Auditor General was appointed in an acting capacity thereafter. The Deputy Auditor General has made a request that he be granted a permanent appointment as the 40th Auditor General. The Auditor General's department, which has a history of more than 200 years, has only given the position in an acting capacity to a person who has requested it on one prior occasion. This was when the Auditor General, who retired in September last year, was initially appointed to the position in an acting capacity and served in that capacity for an entire year.
We know that several persons have applied for the position of Auditor General. We are also aware that an individual from our department, a Deputy Auditor General, has also applied for this position. We have major issues regarding this Deputy Auditor General. It was spoken about recently and also reported in the media that there are corruption allegations against him. We call on the government led by His Excellency the President to please take steps to strengthen financial good governance in the country by appointing a suitable person to the office of Auditor General without leaving it vacant any longer.
The Jatika Hela Urumaya handed over 8 documents pertaining to fraud and corruption to the Anti-Corruption Secretariat in Colombo. National organizer of the JHU, Nishantha Sri Varnasinghe, speaking to reporters, said that the public are disappointed with the failure of authorities to arrest the big fish involved in corruption.
National organizer of the JHU, Nishantha Sri Varnasinghe, and several others visited the Anti-Corruption Secretariat today and handed over documents pertaining to large-scale fraud and corruption said to have taken place in the recent past. Complaints were filed on Lake House, the State Engineering Corporation, Ceylon Steel Corporation Limited, and the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, and several individuals.
The name board of this office is yet to be put up. A contact number, a fax number and even an email address has not been provided. However, we commenced the establishment of such a secretariat. There was a commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption in the island. We had submitted documents to that commission. However, it was evident that the investigations were not expedited. We also submitted documents to the Criminal Investigations Department. A large number of documents were also submitted to the Department of Inland Revenue. However, these institutions are yet to give us an answer that would be acceptable.
නමුත් තවමත් අපිට ප්‍රමාණවත් තරම් සහ පිළිගත හැකි ආකාරයේ පිළිතුරක් මේ ආයතන වලින් ලැබිලා නැහැ.
Now, meanwhile, the convener of the Pivithuru Hetak organization, Venerable Athuriliya Ratanathero, who is also a member of the JHU, has expressed deep disappointment over certain actions of the new government. At a media briefing held today, he reiterated that all promises made under the 100 days program must be implemented.
මේ ආණ්ඩුව බලයට පත් කළේම අපි ප්‍රධාන කරුණු කීපයක් මුල් කරගෙන. එකක් තමයි නාස්තිය, දූෂණය, වංචාව.
We brought this government into power on the basis of several key points. One of these was stopping wastage, corruption, fraud and theft. We have been unable to date punish those corrupt persons who misuse state property. The notion has come to us that the meting out of punishment is being delayed because they are considering the advantages and the disadvantages to their political schemes. We are deeply disappointed by this, but we cannot simply move out because of frustration. We are the ones who encourage the people to stand for this cause.
කනස්සල්ලකට හා කලකිරීමකට පත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. නමුත් අපිට කලකිරිලා අයින් වෙන්න බෑ. මොකද හේතුව මහජනතාව මේ සඳහා පෙළඹුවේ අපි නිසා.
The Pivithuru Hetak organization also noted that they cannot agree with the draft of the amendment to the constitution which has been drawn up.
මේ වෙන විට කෙටුම්පත් කරලා ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙන ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථා සංශෝධනය අපි කියනවා මේ පිවිතුරු හෙටක් ව්‍යාපාරයේ විදිහින් ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙන.
The amendment to the constitution that has been drafted contravenes the constitutional alliance of the President and Prime Minister that was proposed by the Pivithuru Hetak organization. We cannot agree with that. This is not what was promised to the people. This should be done constitutionally, not by completely abolishing the executive presidency and conferring power on Parliament, but by establishing a constitutional alliance of the President and Prime Minister. We call on the people not to agree with such documents which will destabilize the country.
රට අස්ථාවර කරන මෙවැනි ලියවිලිවලට එකඟතාවය ලබා දෙන්නට එපාය කියලා.
We call on the president as he has a responsibility to form a national government. He is still the executive president. If this is not done, then in the future we will take to the streets with the people and form a public opinion on this.
හැමෝටම එකඟ විය හැකි.
Prepare one which everyone can agree on. The president did not say anywhere that the executive presidency would be abolished completely.
අපි ඉදිරියේදී ඒක කරේ නැත්නම්
we hope to build a public opinion on this. If we do not, then those rogues and thugs will return to Parliament with the power of their money.
16,000 litres of ethanol that was imported illegally to the country was seized today. The stock was discovered inside a container during a raid conducted at the Orugodawatha Customs Storage Facility. The ethanol was discovered during a raid carried out at the Orugodawatha Customs Storage Facility this afternoon. Customs media spokesperson Leslie Gami noted the container in which the ethanol had been stored had been imported under the name of a deceased wharf clerk. The Customs media spokesperson further said that the container in question had been imported under the guise of importing calcium hydrochloride. The discovery was made by officers of the Customs Central Intelligence Division, and the 16,000 litres of ethanol had been imported from Thailand. The ethanol was stored inside 80 barrels and is valued at 1,680,000 rupees. Customs spokesman Leslie Gami added that the customs had a loss of 5.8 million rupees as tax money due to the illegal importation of the ethanol. He added that false documents had been prepared to carry out this import.
මිලියන 7 මාරකට වැඩි වෙනවා මුළු වටිනාකම. ඒ වුණාට අපි බැලුවොත්
the total value is more than 7.5 million rupees. But if we assume that this stock went to an alcohol production center, 4 to 5 times the amount of this haul could be produced. If that happened, the tax money the government would have lost would be 4 to 5 times of this. Therefore, the customs sees this as a theft of tens of millions of rupees.
පිටපැනීමක් මේකෙන් දකින්නට පුළුවන්. ඒ නිසා මම හිතන්නේ මේක කෝටි ගානක හොරකමක් වශයෙන්ුයි අපිට රේගුවට කියන්නට පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ.
Many incidents reported on the illegal importation of ethanol to the country. Ethanol imported from Vietnam in the guise of importing thinner. 65,000 litres of ethanol imported in the guise of importing thinner. 74,000 litres of ethanol imported into the country in the guise of importing tar. 16,000 litres of ethanol imported in the guise of importing timber. 16,500 litres of ethanol imported illegally in the guise of importing palm oil. Today, another 16,000 litres of ethanol seized by the customs. For the attention of the public.
The Attorney General has filed indictments against 13 individuals, including parliamentarian Damindu Silva, of the murder of Bharata Lakshman Premachandra at the Colombo High Court. 17 charges have been filed of the killing of the former presidential advisor on trade unions, Bharata Lakshman Premachandra, and 3 of his aides. The killing took place within the Colonnav electorate during the local government polls in October 2011. We want the region to be free from big power conflicts. Now, this was a sentiment expressed by Ram Madhav, the Bharatiya Janata Party National General Secretary, in an exclusive interview with Newsfirst, when he was questioned on the Sino-Lankan relationship and India's concerns. Madhav, who is currently in Sri Lanka ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival in the island, visited the Newsfirst Centre in Colombo today.
India and Sri Lanka have been not just close neighbors, but also they have been close friends for very many years. We have had ups and downs in our relationships, but with the advent of a new government here and a new government in India, we are trying to upgrade our ties with this country. Prime Minister Modi, he is now coming to Sri Lanka. We have great expectations from his visit. We see further strengthening of our relations. In Sri Lanka, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's engagements are mostly official. He is going to visit the parliament, he is going to address all these kind of meetings with the head of the country, President, Prime Minister and all that. They are all there in the visit. We want to work with the Sri Lankan government in a manner that would be beneficial to both of us. We have no other interest in this relationship except to ensure that our friendship helps Sri Lanka grow, and Sri Lanka's closeness with India helps India also in its in its endeavor to grow.
Over the past several years, Chinese influence in Sri Lanka has been growing steadily, with the East Asian power being heavily involved in the country's post-war infrastructure development. Speaking on the Sino-Lanka relationship from the Indian perspective, Madhav had this to say.
See, we want the region to be free from any big power conflicts. We all have stakes in this region. We are all sovereign and important powers. For example, take the case of India. India is growing as an economic power. So we want this region to be peaceful. We want this region to be free from any power struggles. Rather than trying to create, islands of this group or that group, let's allow a completely peaceful environment in the region, in the Indian Ocean, Indo-Pacific region.
The UN Under-Secretary General for Political Affairs, Jeffrey Feltman, speaking to reporters today, said that the UN supports a credible domestic process that meets international standards. The Under-Secretary General also added that the United Nations is committed to assisting in the process of accountability and reconciliation.
I have urged government leaders to take steps in the short term to address issues regarding land, detentions, disappearances, and the military posture in civilian areas. Over the longer term, I have underscored in my meetings the expectations by the United Nations and by the international community that the government will, as it has promised, develop in the coming months a strong framework for accountability that meets international standards and norms and that is seen as credible across Sri Lanka. The UN supports a credible domestic process that meets international standards. Without question, there is still a wide trust deficit between communities in Sri Lanka. We have thus encouraged the national leaders and political stakeholders to work on all of these issues in the spirit of inclusion and consultation. Inclusion requires that all communities be willing to participate in these processes. As requested by Sri Lanka, the United Nations is committed to assisting in the process of accountability and reconciliation through the Peace Building Fund and other facilities as appropriate.
The Under-Secretary General also commented on the delay of the report on Sri Lanka by the Office of the UN Human Rights Commissioner.
As the Human Rights Commissioner himself said when he recommended to the Human Rights Council that in response to the ongoing discussions with the government, that the release report be delayed, he made clear it was a one-time deferral. If there's ways to enhance the findings in the report between now and September, we would look for ways to actually improve the findings. But the basic report, the basic findings, the basic documentation of that report will be released by the time the Human Rights Council meets again in September.
Sajiva Senasinghe is the Deputy Minister of Justice and he toured Thotalanga this morning.
The main focus of the tour was to look into the shortcomings of residents in Henamulla, Thotalanga. The tour also included officials from the Urban Development Authority. Under the former regime, a program was introduced to distribute houses to residents of the area, and this was temporarily halted in the run-up to the presidential election.
There are 61 families and 31 of these families live as tenants. We are in a state where we have no clue as to where we will reside. They promised us flats. If they could build us a small unit, it will be highly appreciated. We lived here for 20 years and there wasn't a single problem. We need a proper relief. We have no place to move in temporarily, so instead of getting the police to chase us out, we request you to allow us to continue to live here until a proper solution is provided.
Deputy Minister Sajiva Senasinghe expressed these views subsequent to looking into the shortcomings of those families that have not received new housing and continuing to reside in this area, and those who are living on rent.
The Gram Nildari is doing the needful to enter your names under the registered list in a manner in which your rights are safeguarded. That is his role. We came to inspect this area to get a clear idea of the situation here. You too should cooperate. If not, we will let them enact the law and step aside. We are doing this in line with the implementations of the government. The Ministry of Housing and the UDA are doing this to make sure you get your houses.
2 armed persons have allegedly robbed close to 2 million rupees from a private bank in Athidia, Dehiwala this evening.
The police media unit said that the 2 armed thieves were wearing full-faced helmets and had been riding a motorcycle. They had also fired several shots. A security guard at the private bank branch who was injured when the thieves attacked him has been hospitalized at the Colombo South Teaching Hospital.
Mount Lavinia Police has deployed a team to conduct investigations into this incident, assisted by a team of fingerprint specialists and a team of crime scene officers. Similar incidents where financial institutions were robbed in this manner occurred in Bokundara and Bandaragama.
Here with News First, welcome back to the news. Former Army Commander General Sarat Fonseca says that when allegations were made over alleged war crimes, those who were responsible to provide answers were unaware of what was happening. He made this comment at an event in Colombo this evening.
Those who were who were supposed to be answering when the allegations come, they didn't know what has been happening. So they were trying to win the sympathy for themselves over it, trying to take the political mileage, advantage. When they say there are war crimes committed, what we should say is, no, we ask whether they have credible evidence, whether they can say where, what time, what place. If they can't say by whom, at least they should be able to give some details, to a certain extent, what we can consider as credible, then we can continue an investigation from there. But if you don't know what has happened in the battlefield, if you are a corrupt politician, you will try to take that advantage and try to win the sympathy of the people by saying, look, these people are trying to kill me, these people are trying to hang me, they are trying to put me on the electric chair. You go around singing that song, then more and more suspicion is created.
A meeting was convened today in Vallavaya by the Organisation to Protect Uma Oya.
A large group, including members of agrarian communities in Vallavaya, attended this meeting.
Any child would understand that if there is a hole in the bottom of a pot, all the water in it will go to waste. If the pot is repaired, then there is a possibility of retaining the water. The solution is closure. The hole needs to be covered. What needs to be done is to provide funds for that. When I asked from the higher-ups, what I was told is that funds were not provided to forge ahead with the project. This might be a disadvantage for some. It is the responsibility of the incumbent government to provide compensation for this. We need this. We know that although the bull graces in Bandarabala or Badulla, this is where the milk and dung is given to. Are we to reject accepting milk and dung? Even though this project stops, that will never happen. There are some who wanted this to be stopped. If it is said that this will be stopped rather than halted temporarily, on that day I will step out on the streets and protect this.
Investors in CIFL are requesting that the government finds speedy solutions to their issues. 4,000 investors have been inconvenienced as a result of the company becoming insolvent over 2 years ago.
CIFL depositors engaged in a peaceful protest today requesting the new government to look into their issues. They gathered in the vicinity of the entrance to Parliament and asked for a fair solution to the problems that had cropped up. Now it's been over 2 years and we have not yet received our EPF or ETF which we worked hard for. Our investment are no more and our dividends are no more. For over 12 years we worked tirelessly to earn the money that we invested. All the money my husband earned after being employed overseas which was invested has vanished without a trace. We have no way to live. We ask that the new government gives us some support to raise us from this pitfall.
There are about 4,159 investors who have invested a total of 3.5 billion rupees. For over 2 years now, these investors have been suffering as a result of the CIFL company becoming insolvent. Almost 58% of the investors are ordinary people. This was a company registered by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Accordingly, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka must take full responsibility to sort out these issues. We do not like to see these innocent investors suffer anymore.
Parliamentarian Sunil Handunnetti arrived at the scene of the protest.
We say that the relevant authorities of the government must ensure that special attention is given to these innocent investors and heed the requests of the people, as they are the people who believe in good governance. We will ensure that we give them our fullest support in order to find a solution for these problems.
A system to obtain data on vehicle ownership and other information via the internet was introduced today. This new e-service was introduced by the Information and Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka and the Department of Motor Traffic. A number of services, including the expiry date and validity period of the revenue license and the vehicle registration number, could be obtained by logging on to the official website of the Department of Motor Traffic. The e-service offers a number of services free, where if a detailed report is needed, payments can be made through a credit card, and the report can be obtained from the Department of Motor Traffic by confirming one's identity.
This service enables the owner of the vehicle as well as a person seeking to purchase a vehicle to obtain details via the internet. I believe that this will be a great service. Meanwhile, this has been carried out in the West and the South as well. I believe that in time to come, we will create a system where one is able to obtain the driving license via the internet.
Now, what must you do to be on the world's rich list? Now, I won't give this extra tonight. What must you do? It's ambition and then follows with persistence, followed up with persistence. With that note, we wrap up tonight's edition of News First, hoping and praying that next year I will be able to announce your name in the rich list. Shami Rasuldeen
and Nicola D'Zoiza. Take care and good night.